WWF SmackDown showed us how good wrestling games can be on the PlayStation, and a short while later, SmackDown 2 built on that foundation, pushing the boundaries in every way imaginable. The WWF's flagship game franchise would say goodbye to the original PlayStation with its next entry in favor of moving on to the next generation. The PlayStation 2 was released on October 26th of 2000 in North America, and, as expected, it was an enormous success. Sales of the console and games and accessories totaled $250 million in its first day on the market, absolutely obliterating the $97 million drawn by the Dreamcast the year before. The PlayStation 2 boasted better graphics, better loading times, better everything. Look, you guys know what the PS2 is. I'm not going to talk your ear off forever about stuff you already know. It had great exclusives like Final Fantasy X, God of War, Shadow of the Colossus, Kingdom Hearts. There were so many of them. You love it. You know what it is. Let's talk about WWF SmackDown, just bring it. Here it is, Dan Dans, the WWF's first foray into the next generation, and it looks alright? Yeah, it looks okay. I might be crazy. I might be the only person in the world who thinks this way. You can let me know in the comments. But I honestly prefer the graphics from SmackDown 2. Sure, the characters and objects were more jagged and sharp compared to their Just Bring It counterparts, but the colors were so much deeper and more pleasing to the eye. Look at the ring mat and apron in SmackDown 2, and now compare it to Just Bring It. Why are the colors on Just Bring It so washed out? Why is everything so blurry? This is the first WWF game on the PlayStation 2, but this wasn't a launch title. Just Bring It came out more than a year after the release of the console, so why does it look like it was rushed onto the platform?
Weighing 235 pounds, from the Bowery, New Jersey, Raven.
On the positive side when it comes to graphics, every superstar now has a full-length entrance. No more walking in front of a video wall like SmackDown 1 and 2. Now we've got Stone Cold Steve Austin hitting each and every corner of the ring, the Dudley Boyz Pyro, which looks awesome,
Weighing 245 pounds, from Dudleyville, Devon Dudley.
and Dean Malenko staring off into nothing for a really long time. I remember thinking these entrances were so cool when I was a kid, and hell, they're still cool. Howard Finkel sounds a little weird, but hey, that's not so bad. Consider the weird audio on him an early PS2 charm.
Weighing 248 pounds, from the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York, Taz.
This was the first SmackDown game that let you fight in the crowd, and check it out. It looks fucking terrible. This isn't me being old and cynical. When my friends and I used to fight in the crowd back in the day, we'd jump in there and watch all the 2D paper people run around and go, "What the hell is this? This looks so stupid." If this is what it looked like on the development floor, I don't think I would have put this out. Again, this is another place where this game, they just made some weird decisions. To this very day, Just Bring It is the only game that has allowed up to 8 wrestlers in the ring at the same time. My friend and I used to play 8-man battle royals over and over again. It was our favorite match type. They're a complete mess, the targeting system is a nightmare to deal with, but who cares? It's fun just to experience, and I definitely recommend it. Before we go any further, we need to talk about the commentary in this game. Yes, this was the first SmackDown game to feature full play-by-play by Michael Cole and Taz. A factoid they were so proud of, they listed it as a main feature on the box art, which is kind of bullshit, because the Cole and Taz they have on the box art are in full 3D, and in the game, they're not. The commentary in this game is so bad, it has become a thing of legend over the years.
This table match is great. I don't like him. That's dumb.
Kurt Angle executes a perfect ankle lock.
I'll be announcing tonight's event.
They're colliding in the ring.
Just look.
The Undertaker and we'll be having a match. It's all over. Edge was not. What will the outcome of this match be?
Just stop it. The Undertaker was great the other day. Whoa!
Edge looks furious tonight.
What? That's not good.
That can't be. Reverse the pin. Oh, be quiet. Took the back. He really is a nice person.
My buddy Tim Ewers and I, aka Bathroom Money, make fun of this commentary to this day. Out of the blue, one of us might say, you know, Tim, I would love a pizza from Giordano's! Giordano's! I don't know how they shipped this game with this commentary. It blows me away that anyone thought it sounded good.
This Hell in a Cell is great.
Kurt Angle and Edge are showing some serious competition. Angle slam! Angle slam!
I can't believe it.
I've never seen a fight like this before. I can't believe it.
What were they thinking? Taz sounds like a complete moron. I think this is good. Why put that comment in the game? Why? Did anyone tell Taz that he was supposed to sound excited? It sounds like he's looking at the script for the first time and just running through it out loud. WWF SmackDown showed us how good games can be on the PlayStation before SmackDown 2. I could talk about just this game's commentary for a full hour, but that would not be very appealing. We've got a whole game to talk about here. Each wrestler now has 2 finishing moves, which is really cool. It allows wrestlers like The Rock to have the Rock Bottom and the People's Elbow at their finisher disposal, rather than including the Rock Bottom as a low-impact, groggy grapple move. Having to choose between the Rock Bottom and the People's Elbow adds to the variety of ways a match can end.
The People's Elbow! The People's Elbow!
Fans are enjoying this.
We see the same dynamic with wrestlers like Jeff Hardy. If you're in danger of getting beaten, you want to use that twist of fate out of nowhere. But if you're in control, do it up, nail the swanton.
Hurry, hurry!
On the opposite side, some wrestlers have 2 versions of the same move in their finisher slots, which also adds to the variety. Stone Cold is the best example here. I liked choosing between which version of the stunner I would use on certain opponents. Yes, they added a new stunner animation, and yes, this one looks like shit too. I always hated these animations because they're based off of The Rock's overselling of the move. Sure, we all love when The Rock would oversell the stunner, but using that animation across the whole game makes it look really dumb when Austin hits the stunner on Big Show or Undertaker and they're flying around the ring like a lunatic. Did this bother anyone else? Let me know. One of the coolest little additions to the series that Just Bring It debuted was having a referee in the ring with you. This might seem unimportant to some, but I always enjoyed it. There's something extremely satisfying about watching the ref count to 3 while you're pinning your opponent.
The Rock and Kane are competing continually. The pinfall end of the match.
Load times are way better in Just Bring It. SmackDown 2 had awful load times. You spent the majority of the game just waiting to play it. Here, it's almost instantaneous. There basically are no load times. It's a major plus.
It is electric in this arena tonight.
There are a number of unlockable characters in the game, including Jerry Lynn, Tajiri, Spike Dudley, Fred Durst.
What?
Yes, you heard me correctly. Scoring at least 17 victories in Slobber Knocker mode with The Undertaker will unlock Limp Bizkit's frontman, Fred Durst. His finishers are a weird spinning neckbreaker and the Swanton Bomb. I imagine this was to sweeten the deal of Limp Bizkit allowing The Undertaker to enter to Rollin in the game, but it's still weird to see. And for some reason, I love it. It's goofy as hell, and hey, if you're not a Limp Bizkit fan, you can beat the shit out of Fred Durst with the 2001 WWF roster, and what's wrong with that? I can see some fans having been angry that Fred Durst of all people is in the game, but we don't have WCW and ECW staples like Booker T, Diamond Dallas Page, Rob Van Dam, and others. This game took place during the invasion, and the big names are missing. It does suck, but there's a cutoff point that these games work under when it comes to the roster, so there's only so much time the team has. It takes a hell of a lot of work to create a high-quality character model. Not including some of these characters didn't come down to choosing more important superstars, it came down to time constraints and when their contracts in real life were actually worked out, and that sucks. Another thing that sucks is the size of the roster overall. In SmackDown 2 we had a roster of 60 wrestlers, and that was on the PS1. This is the next generation, we made the leap, and we've only got 44 wrestlers to work with. What the fuck is that about? This is another area that makes the game feel both rushed and late to the party at the same time. This game does not suck, don't get me wrong. But this was the big step onto the PlayStation 2, and it seems mostly fumble. The graphics are blurry, the roster is disappointing with or without the WCW ECW timing excuse, and more. We're gonna do some rapid fire coverage of 7 more ways Just Bring It was a disappointment, so we're not dragging this out for longer than we have to. Number 1, the lack of new match types. Casket matches are completely missing for one. They were a little wonky in SmackDown 2, but rather than improving on the mode, they've taken it out completely. There are 3 new match types, including Ultimate Submission, which is basically just an Iron Man match with no pins, Last Man Standing, which is fun, and Street Fight, which sucks. A street fight is just a hardcore match where you can't go backstage. What the fuck is the point of that? On the positive side, they did add 3 stages of hell, but I'm not going to count that as a new match type, because it's basically just letting you choose 3 matches that already exist. Number 2, create a pay-per-view is gone as well. It was one of the most fun features of the series. It graded you based on how good your show was, and it's totally absent. Major bummer. Number 3, what the hell is with the narrator?
Caution. Caution. Caution.
Do we really need to hear that every time we select something from the menu? We can read, we don't need to be verbally confronted each individual time autosaving is an option. Number 4, saving takes so long. Look at this.
Caution.
That is ridiculous. You'll find yourself saying no to autosaving because it takes so long and you'd rather just do it once right before you turn the system off. But sometimes you forget to do that last second save and you lose all your progress. Why does it take so long? Number 5, table matches have been completely ruined. In SmackDown 2, you were able to climb on a table and you were glued in place until you jumped off of it. In Just Bring It, you've got more freedom. You can climb on a table and move around, which sounds great, as it should expand in the amount of moves at your disposal to slam your opponent through, but there's no invisible wall to hold you and your opponent in place. This means that every time you and your opponent are on the table, you'll fall off before you can slam them through. It happens almost every single time, and oh my goodness gracious is it frustrating. And then, sometimes by some miracle, you'll stay on the table long enough to execute a move and the goddamn thing won't break. You've gotta be kidding me. Number 6, this game's save file takes up more than half a standard memory card's data. You better have an extra memory card on hand if you want to track your progress and Just Bring It, because you sure as hell aren't going to want to delete your old saves from your other games. I have no idea why this file had to be so big. Much bigger games take up much less space, so I have no answers here other than it's really annoying. And number 7, and this one really sucks, title matches are completely gone. I covered the weird ranking system that loomed over exhibition title matches in SmackDown and SmackDown 2, and how they kinda hindered the experience of putting a title on the line while you play, but in Just Bring It, you're not even allowed to put titles on the line at all. Not in any way, shape, or form. You'd hope that by the 3rd game in the franchise, Ukes would have had some idea how much fans like to put world titles on their favorite wrestlers and streamline the experience of doing so, but nope. The only time you even get to see the championships is in story mode. And oh, holy shit, let's talk about story mode. The 2 previous games in this series had a season mode, where we would control one superstar and play through the show week by week for years at a time. Again, we would control one character, but we got to see what was happening across the whole show every time. This time it's not called season mode, it's called story mode, and it has undergone some major changes. The mode begins simply enough with the player choosing who they want to wrestle as. I chose Jeff Hardy as he's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, and I never had the balls as a kid to put the WWF Championship on him. At the time, I felt it was unrealistic. I said at the time. How was I supposed to know? We get to see one of the new features of story mode right off the bat, as Vince McMahon offers me a shot to tag team titles. And that's it. We get to make choices in the game. I declined the tag title shot as I want to win the world title. Vince lets me know that I might not get this opportunity again, which is fine. I didn't want it to begin with. I didn't even earn it. I just pressed X. They wonder why the tag division is so fucked up these days. It's because all you have to do is press a button to get a shot at the gold. There are some really cool cutscenes before a match that mimic an actual show's intro video. I always thought these were awesome, and this is where the power of the PS2 is showcased. Live action video was passable on the last generation, and it was even considered awesome on the last generation, and it was. But now we've got the power to do these videos inside the game itself, and I always thought this was way cooler. But back to the story progression. Dean Malenko makes his way to the ring and calls out Stone Cold Steve Austin, who we have to assume is the WWF champion. The game never tells us that he's the champion, but I think we get the point. Austin doesn't emerge, but guess who does? I do. We can't let this homie be stealing what we're after, right? I opt to attack instead of trash talking, which is another choice we get to make. So, I rush to the ring. This kicks off a match between Malenko and I, and there's no referee, so I'm not really sure what to do. I just fuck him up and hit a swanton, and then knockout flashes on the screen, so I guess I won. Vince McMahon hits the stage, and he's upset at me for some reason. He says he's got a match for me tonight that'll teach me some respect. What is it? Is it a cage match against The Undertaker? Hell in a Cell against another main event level superstar? It's gotta be something big if he's mad and wants to teach me some respect, right? Wrong. It's a regular old wrestling match against Dean Malenko, who I just beat up. I beat his ass again with a 450 splash. We talk shit. Story mode was on the SmackDown. Crash Holly, of all people, makes his entrance and talks shit about me, saying that if I want to win the WWF Championship, I have to prove my worth against him. He even lets me choose the match type. The 3 stipulations to choose from are Street Fight, Last Man Standing, and Ultimate Submission, which, as I touched on earlier, are the only 3 new match types in the game. This is how you unlock them. I chose Last Man Standing as I thought that would be the most fun. And also, hold on, before the match. No disrespect to Crash Holly, but doesn't this seem a little off? Why am I wrestling Dean Malenko and Crash Holly on my road to the title, and not The Rock and Triple H? It sticks out like a sore thumb, and it takes me out of the experience. I appreciate the imagination here, as I'm trying to put the WWF title on Jeff Hardy in 2001, for fuck's sake, but I feel like I'm facing jobbers on my way to the top. I don't like it. The Last Man Standing match is fun. We fought on the stage, we fought in the crowd, and I finished it with a twist of fate through the announce table.
Twist of fate! Twist of... knocked out!
The WWF champion himself, Stone Cold Steve Austin, shows up on the ramp, saying it doesn't matter who comes for his belt because it's not going anywhere. Austin's wearing different gear here than he wrestles in, which is awesome, and the belt looks pretty cool too, even if Austin never ever wore it around his waist in his career. I beat Dean Malenko and Crash Holly, and all of a sudden I'm one of the most dominant forces in Federation history, main eventing WrestleMania 17 against Stone Cold for the WWF Championship? Does this seem off to anybody else? Austin is in the ring being a dick. McMahon interrupts him and apparently doesn't like him or trust him, so he puts a special stipulation on the match, in the interest of fairness. Take a wild fucking guess what stipulation he chooses. Last man fucking standing. This means that the entirety of my story mode playthrough so far consists of knocking out Dean Malenko, pinning Dean Malenko, beating Crash Holly in Last Man Standing, and now facing Stone Cold in Last Man Standing. Ugh. Austin makes his way to the ring with an entrance theme I don't ever recall hearing before, and can we talk for a second about how terrible this entrance motion capture is? Every other WWF game, Austin walks like Austin. It's the BMF walk, bad motherfucker. We all know what it is. We all love it. In this game, he just looks like some dude strolling on down to the ring. Ugh. Anyway, Jesus Christ, let's get to the match. We fight for just over 4 minutes. I hit one twist of fate, and that's it. Imagine that being the main event of WrestleMania. Whatever, I win. Jeff Hardy is the new WWF champion.
Here is your winner, the World Wrestling Federation Heavyweight Champion, Jeff Hardy.
What's next? What? What is this? You've got to be kidding. That's it, guys. That's the full story mode. It's 3 fucking matches long. You know, in SmackDown and SmackDown 2, we played for years and years at a time. And that was on the original PlayStation. This is the PS2. This is the new powerhouse. We should have enough content here to hold us over until the next game. But we don't. This is it. There are other branching paths where you can challenge for the other WWF titles, but they're all only 3 matches long, so I give this game no mercy here. Story mode is complete bullshit. I would definitely have traded it for the simple ability to defend titles in exhibition mode. That way, I could use my imagination and make up my own goddamn stories. Stories that would last longer than 3 matches without 2 of them being fucking last man standing! So that's it, Dan Ams. That's my review of WWF SmackDown on the PlayStation 2. It's the first game on the PlayStation 2, and it's the first game that I'm not over the moon in love with. This was the game that I had the least amount of experience with. Like I said in the Part 2 video, my brother and I didn't get brand new games the day they came out. Sometimes we would get them for Christmas, or sometimes even the Christmas after. I personally did not have a PlayStation 2 until the 4th SmackDown game came out. So all of my time playing Just Bring It took place at a friend's house. This was the most I've ever sat down to play Just Bring It. While I was taking my notes and doing my research, the problems stand out more now than they did as a kid. When you're a kid, you just sit down and you play and it's like, oh, that's cool. The problems weren't as noticeable, but man, oh man, did they become noticeable when the next SmackDown game came out. This was just part 3 in a 5-part series covering the entire classic SmackDown games. I hope you come back next month where we're going to cover WWE SmackDown Shut Your Mouth. Oh dude, I seriously cannot wait for that one.